Hello and welcome to Türkiye Talks. We are going to talk about recent developments between Turkey and Greece, especially after Greece's violations of Turkish airspace. Turkish president made strong statements. We are going to talk about this issue together with Professor Yücel, Acer and Kadir Ustun from Washington. Welcome both to the program.
Thank you.
I think for the first time, a Turkish president used words occupation to describe the situation in Aegean Sea, about Aegean Islands. And I think for the first time, this was a challenge to the Greece's sovereignty over the islands. I don't know if I'm wrong, please correct me. Let's start with Professor Acer. Am I right? Is this the first time a Turkish president used this word to describe the situation's legal status of islands as occupation?
Yes, as far as I know, this is the first time that no Turkish prime minister or president used such a strong statement about Greek islands in the Aegean Sea. I think if we take this statement alone, it seems to be quite harsh, quite strong. But I think it's not right to take this statement as it is a statement that emerges out of nothing. And we should look at what actually Greece has been trying to do in the Aegean Sea, especially concerning the Aegean Islands. Since 1960s, despite the strong objections from Turkey concerning the demilitarized status of these islands, all the Eastern Aegean islands, actually, all of them are demilitarized by two, clear international agreements. One of them was Lausanne Peace Treaty, and the other one is the Paris Peace Treaty signed after the Second World War. Despite these clear international legal rules, Greece has been, quite openly militarizing these islands, which are most of them are just a few miles off the Turkish coast. So the president actually has used this term, I think, purposely to underline to all world that Greece is actually, in a sense, occupying these islands, using military, ways of getting under control of these islands as against Turkey. That's why this statement is taken not a statement that just emerged out of nothing, but it's just a result of what Greece has been trying to do in many years.
Well, do you think he was talking about only the islands that we call the 12 islands or the Dodecines Islands, or the subject was the other islands or small rocks and other stuff? Can we make a certain judgment that he targeted Greece's sovereignty over these islands, like the big islands, the big ones?
I think the president was as actually meaning all the Eastern Aegean islands, including the Dodecines. Let me clarify the status of these islands as demilitarized islands. First of all, Lausanne Peace Treaty, when it was signed, the Dodecines was under the sovereignty of Italy, not Greece. So that's why Lausanne concerned only the Eastern Aegean islands, which are situated in the in the central and north Aegean, excluding the Dodecines. So the Lausanne Agreement openly demilitarized the northern and central Eastern Aegean islands, and these are named in the Lausanne Peace Treaty as demilitarized islands. After the Second World War, the Dodecines, or we can say the southern Aegean islands, Eastern Aegean islands in the south, are taken from Italy and given to Greece. So when it was given to Greece, and there is an Article 14 of the the Paris Peace Treaty and openly says that these islands are given to Greece, but these islands should be kept demilitarized. That's a very clear statement. So whatever islands in the south or in the central or in the northern Aegean, all of them are actually under, in a sense, militarization acts of Greece. That's why I think the president mentions or means all these islands is situated in the eastern Aegean Sea, whether they are the Deccanese or other islands.
Kadir, if you don't have a question, I'm going to ask one more before turning to you. Is there any clause about what to do if the Greek government or if Greece militarizes the island? Is there any statement or clause about this in this agreement?
I think we have to look at the general principles of international law to answer this question. There is no clear statements or provisions in Lausanne Peace Treaty or Paris Treaty if one of the states, member states, violates any provisions. That's quite normal that the international agreement does not have any specific provisions if there is a violation. Because there are relevant rules of international law, if an international agreement is violated, what happens after this violation? First of all, that's a very fundamental principle in all legal systems, including international law and internal laws of all countries, that any written, agreements are binding on the parties. And in international law, that's clear principle that the members, the parties of an international agreement are under an obligation to apply the provisions in good faith. That's a fundamental principle. What happens if one state violates? The first thing that international law says that if a state violates a provision and if it causes any harm to other side or sides, other states have a right to demand all these damages from the violating states. That's the first result of violation of international agreement. But if this violation is a very fundamental or material breach in the terms of Vienna Convention on International Treaties, and the Vienna Convention says that if there is a material breach, that means very fundamental breach of international agreement, the other side which is affected by this violation has a right to partially or completely dismantle this agreement altogether. So if a state is harmed by a violation by another party, then the harmed state has a right to cancel the agreement altogether, partially or completely, depending on the violation's nature. So that's why in recent 2 years, Turkey has been saying to the Greek actions as against the Greek actions concerning the militarization, and Turkey says officially and send a letter to United Nations that if this violation, militarizing acts goes on, Turkey has a right to, cancel partially or completely the related international agreement, which is the Lausanne Peace Treaty. Actually, Turkey is not talking about completely canceling or dismantling the Lausanne Peace Treaty. Actually, what Turkey is trying to say is that an article gives the sovereignty of these islands to Greece, and that's one provision, and this, as a related provision, it demilitarizes these islands. And Turkey says if you are violating this rule by militarizing these islands, then Turkey has a right to cancel the article which gives sovereignty to Greece over these islands. That means let's negotiate the sovereignty of these islands if you are going to militarize this. That's quite a legal statement by Turkey.
Kadir, what is your opinion on this statement? The statement is clear, actually, but I think it needs interpretation in terms of why Turkey is now using this rhetoric against Greece. Is this a major policy change by Turkey about the sovereign rights of Greece in the region? So how do you interpret this statement from the president?
I think Professor Acer made two important points. One, this is not new, right? This has been going on for a while, back and forth. The other thing is the fundamentals of the agreement is that in return for demilitarized status of these islands, Turkey recognizes Greece's sovereignty. And if that demilitarization aspect goes away, then the recognition of Greek sovereignty would be in question. And I think a couple months ago, Turkish Foreign Minister indicated that, and we are seeing a repeat of that statement, basically. Of course, for years, Turkey and Greece had, occasional tensions over the Aegean Sea because of these islands. The airspace is, according to Greek interpretation, is much larger than that would be afforded to islands in the international law. They also, bring up issues about, continental shelf issues, etc. So these are causing occasional tensions. But I guess what's different these days, past several months, is the fact that Greece is seeking to use the international arena to its advantage. The way they see it, Turkey is weaker. It's going through some, economic problems. Now is the time for, Greece to be supported by the West, by the United States, and then, push against Turkey. Of course, Turkey several years ago, we discussed this several times, made a very critical move. Greece and Israel, Cyprus, Egypt, they were coming together to create some projects to ship gas to Europe. And Turkey, by making a maritime agreement with Libya, seriously undermined that plan, and that plan was not that realistic in the first place. But Turkey basically has Turkey changed the status quo in the Eastern Mediterranean in many ways. It created a maritime border with Libya, which interferes with how Greece sees Eastern Mediterranean and how they see their maritime borders. So and there was an attempt about a year ago, I believe, that Turkey and Greece came together to solve these problems through negotiations. But the incoming Biden administration, I think, gave without necessarily intending to, but Greece feels that they are supported by Washington and White House. And since Turkey is also pushed out of the F-35 program, Greece feels like they can finally perhaps achieve air superiority over Turkey in the Aegean Sea, so they can change the status quo. In the larger picture, I feel like Turkey's moves are kind of, in Athens, they're feeling that these are dangerous moves against Greece, and they need to push back against Turkey. That's the broader context. And there is a real danger now of actual conflict because, President Erdoğan indicated that very clearly. They're not going to hesitate to dispute Greek sovereignty over these islands if Greece continues to, make maximalist demands. And also, remember Turkey was conducting some NATO missions, and S-300s in placed in Greek islands locked onto Turkish F-16s. This was just a couple of weeks ago, and Turkey went to NATO and the United Nations to complain, and indicated that this was unacceptable. So it's a complex picture emerging when the West is the United States especially is sanctioning Turkey for purchasing S-400s, which are not activated, but Greece is activating S-300s against a NATO ally like Turkey, and locking on to the F-16s of Turkey. So this struggle politically probably helps Greek politicians internally, but it is creating a dangerous situation. And I hope, again, in the previous programs I mentioned this, I hope, diplomatic solution comes through, because the danger for a conflict is getting stronger.
Professor Acer, we know that you are expert on international law, but we know that international law is not always just. Most of the times we observe that powerful nations can accept or implement their version of just solutions. But as an expert, when you look at the Türkiye-Greek situation, there are issues like demilitarization of the island, flight information range in the airspace, the continental shelf issue, and all other disputed areas. When you look at this as an expert, as a legal expert, how do you see the strength of the positions between, when you compare with Turkey with Greece? Do you think Turkey has the upper hand, as a president statement reflects the situation from Turkish point of view?
As you say, international law is not a self-executing legal system, unfortunately, and there is no compulsory jurisdiction, so one country cannot go to international court to clarify legally the situation. Both states should be able to agree to go to international courts. So, it's almost up to the countries themselves to follow the legal rules and interpret them and apply them. In the case of the disputes between Greece and Turkey, since there is no compulsory jurisdiction to go in international court unilaterally, so two countries should come together to apply the legal rules concerning these disputes. What happened so far is quite interesting. Two countries had a crisis many times since 1960s, especially 1970s. No crisis lasted for a long time. Mostly when they had crisis that brought two countries to the edge of military conflict, there was always a sense of understanding, and sometimes the intervention of some other countries to stop the crisis and to bring two countries to negotiate. But this time, quite interesting that there are some distinctive features of this crisis. Greece and Turkey had some disputes in the Eastern Aegean Sea, starting especially in 2019 and lasted almost 1.5 years. But at the beginning of 2021, two countries started against a process of negotiations and came together to negotiate the bilateral issues. But suddenly, especially in April of this year, Greece started to use a very strong rhetoric against Turkey by using such unacceptable terms like Turkey is a legal country, Turkey is an expansionist country, Turkey is acting like an Ottoman Empire, so something should be done to stop Turkey. These kind of rhetorics have been used by Greece recently, although there was a process of negotiation. Actually, what Greece was trying to do to demonstrate Turkey as an illegal country in commas, an expansionist country, that's not acceptable. So, and this is actually coupled with the intervention of some other countries on behalf of Greece against Turkey. As Kadir described, and Turkey had, this is no secret that Turkey had some disagreements with the United States over some certain significant issues like, purchasing military stuff from Russia, and in Syria, in Libya, and in some, especially in Eastern Mediterranean. It's quite clear that we have some conflicting views and interest with United States. I think the United States is using this time Greece as a leverage against Turkey. That's why this crisis started and lasted much longer than the previous crisis. So what Turkey is trying to do at the moment to show that it's actually Greece violating international law and actually trying to escape international legal procedures. Let me remind this. In 2015, Greece made a declaration to accept the jurisdiction of International Court of Justice. So it means that Greece openly says that any disputes with other countries can be taken to the International Court of Justice unilaterally by either side. But there are some exceptions that Greece put. The exceptions say that no dispute relating to sovereignty and national defense and borders, and no military acts concerning these issues can be taken to International Court of Justice. Actually, Greece itself excluded all the disputes concerning the Aegean Sea and Eastern Mediterranean Sea between Turkey and Greece out of international jurisdiction. That shows that it is actually Greece that tries to block the way of taking these disputes to the international court. It's quite clear international legal rules can be impartially applied by an international court, and that's the Greece that blocks this way.
Well, this is the legal side. Your interpretations are very deep and interesting. Kadir, I'm going to ask you about the political side of this tension, this changing rhetoric. We tried to explain, we talked about Turkey's perspective, the violations of Greeks in the sea, in airspace. But what are they after? Why do you think Greece is now escalating the tension with Turkey? Is there any rational policy behind it? It's just a domestic policy concerns. What is the idea of Greece? What do you think?
Of course, it's a bit difficult to judge what they're planning in Athens, but I think part of the reason is that they might feel that Turkey is having issues with the West, especially with the United States, on a number of issues, on a number of topics. And Greece, now that Turkey is pushed out of the F-35 program, they have recently purchased, Rafale planes from France, and they have put in requests to purchase F-35s. They might feel like within the next 5-10 years, they can actually reach air superiority over Turkey in the Aegean Sea, and that would give them an advantage to sort of, further their sovereignty in the Aegean Sea over these islands. Of course, this is not a smart policy if that's what they're thinking, because President Erdogan's words we've just discussed in detail are very clear. Turkey is not going to stand by, and we know from past experience, Turkey is not going to just let Greece, assert its sovereignty over these islands in the way that they want it, right? There's a certain status quo where Turkey accepts Greek sovereignty in return for demilitarization of these islands. Plus, it shouldn't be, their continental shelf, their continental shelf should not be interpreted in the way that Greece has been advocating, or their airspace. So if they interpret it the way that they have been doing, then it actually infringes upon Turkey's sovereignty, Turkey's borders, Turkey's airspace, Turkey's own continental shelf, and it is not a sustainable situation. So we will head towards a conflict in that case if both sides, go follow this route. Of course, Greece needs to come to an agreement with Turkey and either return to a status quo or create a new status quo, right? New agreement where, both countries will be satisfied. This is not easy, but I think at the political level, Turkey's increasing influence and power in the region is causing Greece to make these moves, try to sort of use, let's say, anti-Turkey feeling in American Congress, using their lobbying groups in the West to take advantage against Turkey. But in the medium and long run, I don't think this is a wise policy. And I just see the only logical sort of smart solution in diplomacy, to be honest, because at the current state, if there is a conflict, then Turkey will not sort of lose that because we know the capacity between these countries, and it could be very short-lived, and international community would try to intervene, etc. But these maximalist sort of demands by Greece are not going to be just left alone and accepted by Turkey. That's clear.
The president said, one night Turkey suddenly may come, which is an open, warning to Greece. But before coming to that point, what steps can Turkey can take? What can be done in terms of bringing the issue to international court? Maybe diplomacy is another way. There will be a UN General Assembly meeting, so the president will be there to maybe talk about this. But in terms of legal actions, Professor, what can Turkey do immediately to make these islands demilitarized again? Is there a way to do it?
First of all, the statements by President Erdogan should not be again taken as an isolated statement. In the past, Greece sometimes, resorted to the support of some other major countries to, take steps against Turkey. So if Turkey stayed a bit silent on these situations, then it was evident that Turkey lost some positions, like in the Eastern Mediterranean in early 2000s, when the Greek Cypriots and Egypt signed an agreement. Turkey stayed a bit, silent, although Turkey was justified by international law, relevant rules of international law, for many reasons, especially the internal politics of Turkey was not really right to maybe, raise its voice. But eventually, Turkey lost some positions politically, especially. So I think these lessons demonstrated Turkey that if Turkey is justified by international law and if there is an aggression on these rights, Turkey should not stay mild against these kind of moves because, as I said before, there is no self-executing rules in international law. It's up to you to demand and apply your own rights. So that's why the harsh statements, in a sense, by Turkish president is quite justified to defend the Turkish rights whenever it's necessary and whenever Turkey is clearly justified. I have to emphasize, first of all, this. But before going to, actual confrontation with Greece, of course, there are some legal ways. The first one is actually, since the militarization is a threat against Turkey, it's forbidden by international regulations, and if there is a militarization of these islands, even if it's not an actual assault, it's in the legal terms as a threat, which is again prohibited by international law. If there is a threat to peace, then it's responsibility of Security Council of the United Nations to take action against a country which is actually threatening the others. Turkey may apply to Security Council to, demand some measures against Greece. I think Turkey does not think that the time is right for this at the moment, but there is a way that stands in front of Turkey to go to Security Council. That's the first way, and it is both legal and political implications. Another way is go to International Court of Justice. As I described previously, Greece blocked this way. If Turkey goes to International Court of Justice, most probably the court would say that it lacked jurisdiction because Greece don't want to go to court. But despite this legal fact, Turkey still can take the issue of militarization of these islands to International Court of Justice. And in addition to this, Turkey may take another issue which is quite clear, the Greek national airspace, which is illegally wider than its territorial waters. Turkey can take these two issues, which creates daily confrontation between two countries, to international court. But eventually court may say that it lacked jurisdiction to handle the case, but that would show how Turkey is confident in international law as against Greece. That's actually would be a statement to international community to demonstrate that Turkey feels quite justified by international law, and Turkey is not the country that tries to take the things which is not justified by international law. What Greece is trying to draw a picture of Turkey, and it according to this picture, or according to this hypothetical picture, Turkey is trying to get what is not given to Turkey by international law. This kind of moves by Turkey, trying to go to international court, would demonstrate that Turkey is not trying to take the things which is not justified by international law.
Well, yeah, that's important. Thank you very much, Professor Yücel Acer and Kadir Ustun. I just underline the fact that, again, for the first time, Turkey is in a position of questioning Greek sovereignty in the islands in Aegean Sea, and this is an important development that should be written down. The note should be taken by everyone, not only by the Greece, but all the countries around the region. Thank you very much, Professor Acer. Thank you, Kadir.
Thank you.
Bora.
So hope to see you next time.
Thank you.